We are Leave.
Yeah, boy,
What's good,
leave.
everybody? We are Leave. What's up, everyone? Long time no see. Happy to have the homies back. Happy holiday season to everybody. Hope everyone's safe and healthy and all good. But yeah, I'm up here in New York. Big snowstorm in New England. Lots of shoveling and working out and flexing up the muscles. But yeah, it's good to be back with Xner. What's been going on with you, man?
Just enjoying a little bit of a break in between casting. There hasn't been much going on in a while. I've also been sick, so got over that. Other than
COVID?
that, no, it wasn't COVID. Thank God. Tested negative for that. It was like a sinus infection. I thought I had COVID for a second, but uh,
Good.
we're all clear. But yeah, just enjoying the break. Playing a lot of Cyberpunk. That's about it, though. Hanging out.
Nice. Yeah, who's our friend here?
We got AGM. He's a little bit of a different interview today. We wanted to pull in some different perspectives, so we got a Valorant player here to join us on the interview, talk a little bit about that scene and kind of how it relates to CS. This is a CS podcast, of course, but I do kind of want to. I'm really interested in the scene because there's so much overlap. AGM, how you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you guys for inviting me. How are you guys doing today?
I'm good. JL, I don't know if you're as happy with all the snow and stuff, but
I specifically requested this. Everyone, like my family's like, oh, it's gonna snow, blah blah blah. I can't stand this, and I was like, I can't wait. I'm ready. I woke up, I got out of bed today, and I literally like first thing I did was go downstairs, put my boots on, and started shoveling. So yeah, I'm enjoying it.
perfect.
I've been away from New York for a while, so I haven't had like a real good snow. Um, so yeah, I've been enjoying it as long as my internet survives this show. So knock on wood. Pray for me in chat.
Yeah, but I want to start off talking a little bit about your CS career, just because you have been in at least Go for a long time. From what I've seen, I checked out a little bit of your Liquipedia page, a little bit of your HLTV page, but like the one thing I remember you from, and this is from like 2015, was when you played on winout.net. Uh,
hmm
so basically, I kind of want to ask how you got started in CS and like how you were able to kind of stick to competitive play for the long haul.
I started 1.6. I started with 1.6
Okay.
in probably like early 2008, 2009, and a bunch of my friends from like high school and stuff played it.
Mm.
So I got into with them for just like we play on like the pub servers and stuff like that. But I got into video games because I had like a rough time in high school. Not like personally, but my dad was sick from cancer for like 2 to 4 years, and I kind of didn't really know how to work with anything like that, and
Hmm.
I kind of just shut down and kept to myself for the last couple of years. So like competitive gaming was like that kind of escape while
Yeah.
still like linking up with people and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly uh definitely a benefit of being like in a competitive scene for sure. But basically, I also want to like follow up on your time with Third Impact because of their kind of relevant in the MDL scene. But how did you kind of get started with this Third Impact roster?
Well, I knew like I didn't really want to play super competitively anymore. I just wanted to play with my friends.
Yeah.
So I made a team called Stay Frosty,
Hmm.
and we were just playing main or whatever because we couldn't. That's what you had to start out in,
Yeah.
and we were just having fun and playing with each other because we've all played with each other before. And Sport Kenny, the owner of Third
Yeah.
Impact, actually reached out to me and talked to me about like what they were offering, what they were looking to do, and stuff like that, and we just instantly clicked. So.
Yeah. And that's perfect. I also kind of want to follow up with because I mean towards the end of Stay Frosty, you've kind of made your transfer into Valorant. How did that transfer kind of get started? Like, when did you know you were going to switch to Valorant, and how far did you think, or how far did you kind of want to go in that scene? Because coming off of the fact that you kind of mentioned that you were only playing like CS kind of competitively for fun, um, whether or not you're trying to go like to be the best, but um, how far did you think you would be able to go in Valorant?
To me, since like I feel like it's a lot different for older people like me. Back in the day, you played video games for fun, right?
Yeah.
You got on every day, 4 hours of the day, because you actually had fun doing it and you wanted to
Right.
get better. Not that like maybe you go pro and make
Paycheck.
$20,000 a
Yeah.
month and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different in that regard. I didn't think about competing in Valorant really until it was a game where I could play and have fun, and
Mm.
especially with friends and stuff like that. Because to be like at least the very best at the game, you need to like the game.
Yeah.
Like at the very best, you need to have fun playing the game outside of competitiveness and stuff like that. So that was definitely gonna be a big deal for me. And I'll be honest, the first weekend I played, I told the guys that I wasn't gonna play next season. So
Wow. Yeah, that's what I'm curious about. Is like because I when I first played, I was like, I don't know. So it's like, what was it like when you first shot? Was it just like immediate, like, yeah, like let's go, like I want to play this game, I want to grind it, I want to do it, or was it like kind of like getting into it? Like, what were those like first moments like for you?
it was definitely a lot more fun in the regards of like it's not as rigid as Counter Strike is. It's not as like not I don't want to say dimensional, but it's not as like I don't know. There's like a lot of different cool things you could do in Valorant. There's different ways you could do stuff that not everybody's seen before. You could be one of the first people to do it just because the
Yeah,
game's new and stuff like that. And like the whole ranked system and pug system is like a little bit less rigid as the Counter Strike pug system is. So
Yeah.
you could have like a little bit more fun. It's a lot more fun that way. Like you don't have to take it super serious to be
Yeah.
able to play the game.
yeah.
I
And I
wonder, like,
think,
oh, you go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say, and I think you already answered this. Is just like the moment you knew you were gonna switch, and I guess it was that first weekend.
Yeah, we actually had a Counter Strike tournament that weekend, and I played Valorant for the first couple days, and then we played the tournament, and we won the first map, and I wanted it to be over already, the Counter Strike tournament, just so I could go play Valorant.
I mean, that's really good to have that much enjoyment. I'm
Yeah,
glad. I my experience with Valorant was actually a lot of fun too. I still have fun playing that game. Um, it's definitely a lot of fun, and I get what you mean with like the amount of like innovation that you can do. Because I watched a little bit of the first strike just as like a viewer getting able to like catch some of the players like and how they're able to operate. It was a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, that definitely makes sense. I did kind of want to mention you said that oh shoot, it just left me. I
I've
had it.
I've got one.
You
I've
go
got
ahead.
one. What you think about it? So
Yeah.
I'm curious about like how's the scene been in Valorant? Like, have you connected with a lot of like old faces from the CS scene? Have you connected with like new faces from the CS scene? Have you met a lot of other people like from different games? Like, kind of like what's your network turned into with Valorant?
yeah. I mean, I met all the CS people that came over. Obviously, we have a connection together, so it's always fun talking with them. I feel like Valorant definitely made the CS players a lot closer together, I guess. Like when Gen G came over with the Frenchies, I wasn't really like friends with them so
Mm.
much in Counter Strike, but since both of us switched over at the same time, and we were competing for the same sponsors and stuff like that, like we just became friends and stuff like that. And then I met like obviously when we were in talks with sponsors at the very beginning, we were in talks with a couple different ones. So I met like all the cool staff and other people involved with those sponsors.
And when you say sponsors, is it like are you referring to like different orgs or like actually like gaining sponsors for your current
Different
team?
orgs, sorry.
Okay. So I guess that's a good segue, kind of like what was the lead up to signing with Complexity and like what was that process like? It seems like you were kind of like fielding different offers. So can you kind of like share details on that kind of like that path?
Yeah, when the game first started coming out, wasn't really set on playing competitively right off the bat. I just wanted to play the game and have fun because in my eyes, like in the beta, like no one's gonna really remember all that much,
Yeah.
later on down the game. It's the same thing like when the Overwatch came out. No one really remembers the Overwatch beta, all those competitions and stuff like that. So I just wanted to make sure I was gonna be one of the best players in the game individually before I got into that. But then some of my friends from other games and stuff asked me to start playing competitively, so we kind of started doing that as like a fun project on the side, and then we just accidentally started winning things.
Um, And then so was it more so like people reaching out to you, the different organizations and stuff, and you kind of like just having different conversations, or did you kind of like reach out to them, or?
Oh, it was a little bit of both. For complexity, their scout was somebody that I met from Overwatch a long time ago. So he was me and his relationship was kind of part of the process of us trying out for them.
Yeah, I mean, was the original complexity roster the team that you were working with to try and like build the complexity roster? I remember like Com at one point was on the team, but was that kind of like the original five that you were playing with in those early like beta tournaments, or was it a different roster?
The beta tournament was different. It was me, a guy named Frisco, who played Overwatch for Liquid for a little bit, and an old game called Shoot Mania, and then Buds, which was he played Fnatic in Overwatch, also Shoot Mania, and then Ohai, which he played
Yeah.
in Apex, Battalion, and Counter Strike and stuff like that. And then we had like a rotating fifth for a little bit. We played with Duck first, who came from CS, and then we just kept swapping around fifth and stuff because like with how complexity came to us at first, they wanted us to kind of have like since we were like nobodies, to be fair, like we didn't have a presence, we didn't have a brand, so they kind of wanted us to try to reach out to somebody that with a presence and a brand and
Yeah.
like a little bit of a stream to try to get that kick started, but that ended up not really working out so well. We
Yeah.
went through a lot of different rosters.
And so with that, how has it been playing with like people from such different games? Like, has it been, I'm curious, like the positives, what negatives you feel comfortable sharing? Just like I feel like it's a very unique thing coming from like Counter Strike, where obviously everyone in the Counter Strike's grinding Counter Strike. You don't just come into Counter Strike and start playing competitively. So, what has that experience been like for you?
It's been pretty cool, I guess. It definitely helps with innovation to a certain extent, but Counter Strike players are still the best. They approach the game the best. It's the same approach as you would in a
Yeah.
Counter Strike, and at the end of the day, everybody's gonna need to know Counter Strike fundamentals to be the best.
Yeah, I mean, is it hard to kind of like educate them on the fundamentals? I mean, I imagine if like you're operating at a top level in any esport, especially like an FPS esport, you've got to be mechanically like gifted. But are there like certain things that are kind of hard to drive home with the players coming from different games?
It definitely gets interesting sometimes because like you sit there and you're like, oh wait, we're professional gamers, but like
Yeah.
that one mistake is like something my
Yeah.
friend team in main would never make,
Right, right.
And it's just trying to just remember that, it's different for everybody, where
Yeah.
everybody came from, and it's just working on everything. And I mean, like in this game, it's really hard to be consistent right now, and I think that shows with how many different teams win top events and stuff. I think
Yeah.
like Sentinels, TSM, and 100
100
Thieves are
Thieves.
all on the top. They're like the only ones that really found super consistency.
Right.
And that's
Oh,
that's
you go ahead.
interesting. Like, do you think like what do you think like their key to success is, like those teams? Because me and Xner were looking through and kind of like just catching up on some like Valorant results. And yeah, it's all over the place. But those teams that you just mentioned are consistently at the top. Like, what do you think their formulas are for being up there?
I think TSM and Sentinels have a lot. They rely on a lot of individual skills since they've been playing so much since the very beginning of the game, and they definitely like their first like thing when they play you is try to bully you with their individual skill, and then if that doesn't work, they have to fall back to something else. But they could literally bully everybody outside of the top four pretty much with
Yeah.
their individual skills. So 100 Thieves is a different case though because they're obviously a brand new team for the last month and a half,
Yeah.
and I think they've really are the best team just by how much work they've put in, and you could definitely tell they're like the most structured team and most rigid team, and it's definitely really annoying playing against it.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a really interesting comparison between like Sentinels, because Sentinels that roster's been together since open beta, right?
Mhm.
So like it's interesting to see like how much or how reliant they are on like individual aim compared to a new team. You'd expect like the reverse, I guess, at least in most cases. Like
The
it's
But I think
interesting.
like this game is a lot more in like a lot more individualistic. If that's, I don't even know if that's a
Yeah,
word, but
yeah,
uh,
a hard one.
but like meaning like you can't just have like one IGL, like saying different stuff, and like
Interesting.
everybody needs to know how to be in every situation with the character they're playing.
Yeah,
A lot more in this game than in Counter Strike, because in Counter Strike everybody had the same stuff, right? Like there's like one best way for almost every situation in Counter Strike. But now in this game where everybody doesn't have the same utility and stuff like that, it's a lot different.
yeah,
That's really interesting, and I think like I'm definitely want to hear more about that. And so like it's you're saying that there's not necessarily like one kind of like IGL that's kind of running every round. Is it like more of like a group mentality? Is it like more from the coach? Is it um and like are you still like doing retakes together? Like are like those things different in the game even, or is there still a good cross play there?
I think it's more like the round to round stuff, just because like certain characters have the only utility that are good for certain stuff like that. So it's more on you to use that utility better and help your team that way, instead of just one person trying to control four characters the entire round.
yeah.
Then it would be way too hectic, especially since like aggression really pays off in this game, and it's really hard to just like slow down the game sometimes.
Yeah, I mean that makes me think that like the value of practice in Valorant is actually going to mean a lot because you can kind of plan some of that like ability use like pre-game, rather than like doing it on the fly as an IGL. You kind of nail that stuff like dry runs and all of that. But
Mhm.
do you think it helps that kind of 100 Thieves does have two like really good IGLs on their roster, Nitro and Steel?
Yeah, definitely for sure. They are. I mean, even Hiko IGL for a while
Yeah,
too. So, I mean, just having the two young people, Asuna and
and Dicey.
Dicey, they're in good hands. Like
Yeah. Yeah, no matter what, they're gonna be walking away from that team, if they ever end up moving on, like with so much knowledge. Yeah.
Mhm.
Seems nuts. It's crazy that like they were able to kind of just like step in and just win that. What was it, first strike? Is that
Yeah.
what the tournament
Yep.
was? That's wild. Um, so I don't know. It's been really exciting kind of talking about this Valorant thing. I kind of want to bring something back over to CS, but Xner, do you kind of have anything else you want to ask on the Valorant side? I'm
Um.
sure we can kind of come back, but
Yeah, I think we can come back to it if you have anything else.
cool. So yeah, it was really interesting hearing what you said about like the team dynamics. I'm curious, like, to try and bring it back to CS, like I said, like, are there things that you think people could benefit from with Valorant to bring back to Counter Strike? You were saying like people are a lot more individualistic, but still on like a team basis. Like, do things come to your mind that could really transfer nicely over to like CS team play and even I guess like individual skill?
I mean, it's like I just feel like when people are coming up in Counter Strike, especially new teams and stuff, that they always try to copy other teams instead of trying to figure out like their own style of play and what works for them and stuff like that. And that's like a big thing in Valorant right now. Like most of the top teams are play completely different from everybody else. Like the top like 8 teams all play a different kind of style and all play differently, and you can tell when you
Hmm.
play against them. So
That's a
I
good
think,
point. Yeah.
yeah, I think there's like a lot. I mean, like look at like Furia, right? Like everybody thought like innovation wasn't like, or like Astralis hit like the innovation ceiling, right? And
Yeah.
then there's like a team like Furia who plays the complete opposite of
Vertigo boost.
Astralis, and they show that it is possible to play. You don't have to be like an Astralis.
Yeah. That's a really interesting point. It's completely true. I mean, yeah, there's definitely opportunity in anything. That's a good point to kind of digest and think on when new teams are forming and teams are kind of like sticking together. Um, I don't know, Exner, do you have anything you want to go with from there?
Um, I would like to kind of ask like, is there any like draw to Valorant other than like I know that like a lot of people's motivation has been they kind of see a brighter future in Valorant, but whether that's you're playing in a CS esport or like an Overwatch esport that's had kind of some issues in that league. I'm not sure on the specific issues of Overwatch, but they've had their own struggles. But is there any other appeal really? Like, is Riot like the developer, I'm kind of answering this question, but like Riot, I know they're more communicative than Valve is by quite a bit. So anything like along those same lines.
Yeah, I mean, I think like just having a past esport that they're the ones that created that whole framework for esports leagues and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So it's just cool that they're doing it again with another game, and they already know like what they need to do for the foundation and stuff like
Yeah,
that. They've done it successfully for how many years? Like 8, 10
yeah, for
now
however long
for
time.
League of Legends.
LCS
So
or
like so like at the very least, like it will be a solid esport. Like who cares if it's not the best esport or not, but at least it
right.
is going to be a consistent, solid esport.
Yeah, and they if we're like if they're building off of the model that they were able to successfully do with LCS and LEC and all of that, it's going to be definitely successful. And I feel like they've got the funding, or I know they've got the funding to do it, and like they're more than willing to operate at whatever they need. So like, yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from with that.
I think I might know the answer to this one, but what do you think? Is there no looking back, or you think there's a possible return to CS one day for you?
I mean, I just play what's fun for me. Like at the end of the day,
Mm.
I'm older. I'm 27, so I wasn't like planning on going professional at Valorant or anything like that. But I've always just played competitive games just for fun. I like the competitiveness, and it's
Yeah.
been a blast playing Valorant.
So maybe.
Yeah, I mean maybe.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so maybe we can get, well, yeah, let's do it. Let's get into maybe the more serious part of this. I don't want to go too deep into it just because it's kind of been on rinse cycle
Yeah.
for the past few weeks. But I think with that being said, we at least have like a really like unique or at least different outside the echo chamber opinion opportunity we can get here with you, Michael, on kind of like the state of NACS and maybe even CS in general. Long-term member of the community. Went to Valorant kind of on the outside looking in now, but with lots of memory on it and knowledge. So I'm kind of curious, like just on a high level, whatever you want to say, the current state of NACS with COVID and how that's impacted everything, kind of like where it stands and maybe even you think where it could go, or is this just not looking good on all levels for you right now?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think like a lot of people saying this is the end of Counter Strike and stuff like that. Where like for the older people who played like 1.6 in the source and stuff like that, that's like what is exactly what it was now, right?
Yeah.
Like there was hardly any LAN tournaments and stuff like that, and the only leagues were the online ESEA leagues and stuff like that. I think at the end of the
Shout out to
day,
Cal.
yeah, at the end of the day, like you shouldn't play Counter Strike to go professional. At the end of the day, you should do what is fun for you. And like at the end, like you could go to school, you could work a full time job, and still play Counter Strike.
Yeah.
Like I'm on the pimp side when he said that like you just gotta just grind it out. Like this is a shitty time right now, but it's not always gonna be shitty.
I mean, there's so many examples of that too. Like, who it was Dupree who got his masters while he was playing on a
Kerrigan.
Kerrigan while he was either playing on mouse sports or phase. Like, that's just unbelievable. The amount of time that you have to put in CS and you're able to like go to school on top of that is nuts.
Hmm. It's definitely possible. Just people are not very great with time management
Time it,
skills.
yeah, that's the big issue.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I think I would honestly like to even like stay on it more because I'm the same age as you, Michael, and so it's like, yeah, when we were kind of like growing up through our teens and like playing, it wasn't like I guess we had like the CGS kind of like was a thing for a moment and maybe a dream for a lot of people, but like at the end of the day, it was just like you're not really kind of trying to make a big thing of it. I understand it's like growing fast in that direction, but I think it's a good reminder for people that's like, listen, like and the same thing can be said for like professional sports like baseball or football or something. It's like yeah, some people are gonna go pro, some people are like on that level, but like you really need to maybe plan your future and evaluate your life differently than that. People are gonna take the risk, people are gonna go all in and stuff like that, but I don't know. Maybe not everyone should do that. I
mean,
think
it's a
it's a good
huge
message for
risk.
people. Yeah.
Such a like
Um,
deep time investment if you're really trying to grind it out.
Yeah, especially like MDL as a whole is just like a giant trap for people like that. It's like people think like once they make MDL that like they're close to making pro, but you're
Like
just
skill
as far
gap.
away as you ever
Yeah.
were.
Skill gap
that
between
is such
MDL
a fact.
and like a team like EG, like how many players do you think made it out this year? What was it? Grim, Floppy? Yeah, I can't think of anyone
Yeah.
else.
And then I guess like MOTM and the OC, the new assault team or whatever.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean I guess I would even put them at a tier below like EG and Liquid.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's like two players were able to make it from like a Triumph and a Cloud9 to a X Cloud9 to a Extra Salt. Sorry, I need to get that team right now. But yeah, only two players this year. It's nuts. It's a huge skill
Yeah,
gap between the two.
like with people coming over or like moving up from MDL to like pro, it's never like it's hardly ever teams. It's always individual people
Players,
getting
yeah.
picked up.
I
And,
know
and
Xner.
and it's like
Yeah.
never IGLs. So like if you're an IGL
Yeah,
and MDL, you're never going pro. I'm sorry to tell you that now. Like the
like
chances of you going pro is like zero.
God bless Jake Zula, but like that guy's got so much like players that he's built and put into like positions to succeed, and just to get your like Grim ripped away, which
Yeah,
of
that's what
course
always
you're not.
happens to IGLs. Your best players
Yeah,
get ripped away, and you have to keep doing it over and over again.
especially if you're playing on like a Triumph, it's nuts. And like even like he can't even catch a break with his current roster because there's teams like Furia scouting their players. So
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
think that's like a real, or you think that's just complete hype? It's I don't know. It just like blows my mind to think that Junior would go play with like Furia, but maybe I'm just ignorant. I don't know.
it might be
Is
just
that
like the perfect role for him, like for a replacement for Henny. I mean, I don't know what they're looking for specifically, like, but I mean, he's an aggressive opper. He's really
true?
passive. He can be aggressive at sometimes, but you'll like see
it's just
Art
a
do
little
that way
weird because
more.
like Kenny's been playing so well, or like
Yeah,
Kenny's been this is like his
and even
prime right now.
Furia has been playing well in general. I mean,
Yeah.
there must be some like stuff in the background that isn't like being brought up. And
Mhm.
I mean, and he's still on the team, so maybe those were just rumors.
And in Europe.
It's always
But,
hard joining like a team like that speak a different language and then they have
Right.
to change it just for you
Yeah.
because at the end of the day they're still going to be speaking Portuguese
Yeah.
in game. Like as soon as whoever they pick up dies, they're 100% going back to
Yeah.
Portuguese, and then the guy's just kind of sitting there like lost.
I was talking to Swisher about that. He plays on Yeah, and
Mm.
was mentioning like if they're in a 2v2, they're gonna be talking in Portuguese. Like I won't be able to listen to a word they're saying, but like they're communicating when I'm alive, and like I've actually talked to a couple teams that are like multi or international. Like that's been one of the biggest challenges early on, but you kind of learn how to adapt with it.
No, for sure. I just know that for some people, just like it's kind of hard to feel like a team, when there's
Yeah.
like two different languages being spoken and you can't understand half of it. So,
Yeah, and you lose that early honeymoon period too with that.
mm.
I hope that team blow. Well, I feel like they are gonna blow MDL up this season. But I know Xner. I know you have a lot of opinions on it as far as like the what's it called, like the practice season for MDL, and it looks like it's gonna be that. I think ESEA went back on saying it's not official yet, but I think everyone's kind of leaning that way that it is.
So ESL has come out with a statement, an official statement saying in the coming days we're going to announce support for the NAC, and it's very nice. Then again, like radio silence ever since then. That was maybe a week or so ago. From I think it was its COO or someone big up in ESL, which would likely mean either more tournaments for NA, like specifically, or I don't know what the deal is. Of course, like they're just every player complaint is like we don't have enough tournaments. So ideally that would be the case, but again, haven't heard back from him. I don't. I mean, after like the bad feedback, I have hope that maybe there wouldn't be a practice season this season. I imagine they're gonna try and with their new calendar, try and incorporate some of that with MDL. MDL's season, I don't think has been announced yet. I don't know. I haven't checked ESEA, but I do have a little bit of hope for this season.
Yeah.
Still like trying to get into contact with some people at ESEA to add some content on the side because it needs some sort of entertainment. MDL's viewership is so bad. Talked about it plenty of times before on if you watch like past episodes, but
Preach it.
yeah, I just hope that there's some sort of support because they can't like leave it as is right now.
Yeah. I mean, so do you think, I didn't want to go into it, but fuck it. I feel like we're all feeling it right now. Like, is the answer more tournaments? I feel like the cash cups. What do you think? I mean, the cash cups have definitely helped, right? I don't know if there's like a diminishing return on them or not, though.
There's been a couple of success stories from Cash Cups. If you look at like Gaming, who tried out their player, there's been a lot of like tryouts and stuff. I don't think it's like the answer though. I think there needs to be so much rehaul and so much
Yeah.
work being done because in a dire state. And like players aren't even competing in those tournaments because they know they'll just lose to or Pain. Like that
Yeah.
mentality is so bad. Like the player mentality is so bad, and there's only so long that ESEA can keep on pumping out those tournaments because they get no gain from it. They don't make any money. They don't even stream the games on their own channel. So,
Yep. And like, there's so much that like people don't even really think twice about it because like, oh, there's probably a cash cup this weekend and whatever. Like, I know like even on our side, like we don't really even track it that much. Like at first it was like, oh, cool, like who's winning this one, and now it's just like
there's so many. It's like
whatever.
I like half the time I can't even keep up with them.
You made a good point though, and it's actually something that I was thinking about today, where it's like having even like probably on our level, kind of nature's level, like tournaments that are kind of taking out like all these tournaments have like invited teams, like taking that out of it and just having like invited teams from even like the lower mid MDL advanced, maybe like the main champion, and having like a different playing field instead of just like gaming or Pain Gaming or Mythic or Team One just taking money home. I think that adds a kind of interesting aspect to it where these teams are more on each other's level and gives a better optimistic look. Like, I want to grind for this tournament because I want to beat this team that we played in like the relegation tournament. Like, fuck them. Instead of like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get like wiped up by Team One or something like that. I think that's definitely an interesting perspective on it.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
why like always like the whole ESEA league system was always like a big flaw for people because you sit here and practice, 4 or 5 hours a night for 3 months, and then you make playoffs and you lose one best of three and you're out. I know now they've made it 2 best of 3s, but that's not like I don't think that really solves all that much either. You practice for 3 months, do that, and then your team dies, and you spent the last 4 months doing absolutely nothing.
You get 18 matches played on your team history page.
I mean,
Literally.
if you look on Cash Cups, like the same couple teams win them, but like even still, like that's not helping any if you're not allowing like good teams to compete that are like in the tier 2 scene. So again, it comes down to mentality. Like if we're going to have a healthy scene, you need to have teams. You need to have teams want to compete, and even if you're not able to win, maybe you get to practice against one of your top opponents. Like that's got to be there's got to be a totally different outlook rather than just trying to collect a check out of a tournament. Because other than that, like you're not gonna be able to build up competition. You're not gonna be able to build up players. Like I posted a tweet a couple days back mentioning like look at these teams or tournament organizers in EU and like they have $125,000 in prize pools. But like
that's tier 2?
Tier 2 and tier 3. Like advanced
Wow.
teams are competing in these tournaments and doing well. But
that EU seems crazy.
Yeah,
like,
and that's just in December. That's 1 month. Like it's absurd. And then you look at what's available. You've got so many cash cups with no viewership because ESEA isn't really investing into like making it a production. Like they're not putting like any casters on the tournaments. They're just kind of letting it open IP, which is great for casters. Like I know Fi been eating that up, which is an excellent opportunity. But I think ESEA needs to see some return, or else they're just throwing money at a wall that is like, you know,
Dude,
barely helping.
that's the esports business model.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, and that's a thing that I think for me, like hearing these conversations spin around, it's like at the end of the day, and everyone says the same thing. It's like there's a real core problem, and like, yeah, I think just the business model's wrong. I think it's just completely off. Like, what does this even do? On like the org level, on the tournament organizer level, like you made the comment about like the viewership and stuff. Like that's a huge. Esports makes money from advertising, really. Where else are you making it from? Merchandise,
I don't
clearly,
know.
because
It's such good content. There's been such good games. If
yeah.
ESA just
So
stream them, they'd be. I mean, pay the casters what their normal rates are, because you're throwing $3,000 a week at players and tournament organizers or fucking MDL teams. Like, if you can afford $3,000 a weekly for players, then you can afford whatever casters are taken on the ESEA stream. Like, and there's casters available. Like, there's plenty.
yeah,
There's so
I'm surprised
many.
they haven't. I'm surprised they haven't taken more notes from Mythic League because I mean
They did
that
such a good job, and
yeah
largely the viewership was off of the back of Flom hosting. But still, like, all of Flom's fans were having a blast in there. There's so many like moments where like it was funny. People were laughing. You had the interview and the great job of Darth Mike doing that game show.
that's
Like,
exactly what was running through my mind the second I said Mythic League. Yeah,
like that shit's awesome. But no, you get instead just a stream of a caster who just like has access to HLTV and is casting the game. Like, there's no value to it. It's $3,000 and you've gained nothing. And you think you're gonna do that long term? Like, no, you're gonna be like in a couple of weeks or months or I mean, however long this will last, you're gonna be like, you know what? It's not really economically feasible that we continue to do these cash cups, and then now we're we're down even worse, and they're not bringing that back. Like, you've got to have some value to throw in $3,000 a week.
tell them.
Ugh.
uh, what do you think, Michael? I mean, I feel like Valorant is just has none of these problems right now. They're just kind of like just party mode. How's the casting and tournaments and stuff around like that? Is it pretty much the same? Just like I guess there's so much hype around it, or do you see like any differences in like the way these tournaments are run?
It definitely started out a little rough. The viewership wasn't great. Nobody really knew how to run tournaments that well, but it's definitely increased. And I think like the biggest like bump to viewership has been the whole TSM versus Sentinels kind of rivalry, and then Myth. Obviously, Myth has done more to the Valorant scene than I think pretty much anybody else, with especially with his casting the matches and stuff. He's brought a lot of viewers to the competitive side.
Co-streaming? Does he like co-stream?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
think there's anything that we can take note of from like if Valorant's doing well as far as like running the tournaments or the player base? I feel like it's kind of just like a race to the top. I don't, and I'm honestly very out of context with Valorant, but like I feel like it's pretty much just everyone going as hard as they can to try and to get as high as they can in the rankings and stuff. It's not really
Yeah, it's just like it's new, so like the honeymoon phase, and everybody, like all the orgs and stuff, are just throwing money at it just because they know it's a Riot game,
yeah.
and they
Trying to
know
get the
that it's probably
franchise.
eventually going to be something. So like everything is definitely oversaturized, especially with like salaries and stuff like that with certain orgs and stuff like that. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of the same thing when CS:GO was in its prime, like the amount of oversaturation and like a lot of the orgs. I mean, Valorant to me is like on the same path as CS:GO is, but CS:GO just doesn't have anyone to say, hey, let's turn this ship around and make some money. You know what I mean? Like, whereas honestly, Valorant is already doing such a good job. Like, they've got Red Bull aces and what is it? Something clutch. Like, just like even getting those small little bits of advertisement in production is so much value, and we are seeing tournament organizers like Flashpoint doing a really good job at this. ESL does okay enough, I guess, but Blast does a really good job with their like partnerships. Well, some of them, obviously, not a lot of their partnerships with Neom and stuff, but you know, like Betway and Blast have done a lot of like content. But yeah, it's just like it feels like when CS:GO was at its peak in like 2015 or 2016, maybe even a little bit of 2017, when you know you had so much money flowing in the scene, you had all the COD orgs come in and leave. It feels like if Valorant just has someone to step in and make some money, basically, that's the difference, and I feel like that adds so much value.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps with a company like Riot who continue to communicate with everybody
Yeah.
on like a consistent basis. Because when orgs put their money into like the game and stuff like that, it's an investment, right? And you
Right.
want to know who controls your investment, right? You don't want to go to you don't want to invest a lot of money into Valve and then Valve just does something stupid or just doesn't do anything, you know?
Mhm.
Like they're not Valve isn't trying to help out the economy or like the whole CS economy. They're just trying to help out like themselves a little bit, you know? Like they're just trying to stay away from everything while kind of
Right.
putting their toes in enough just so everybody thinks they're like kind of care, but
Here's
they
an
don't really actually
operation.
care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's an operation, you kids. Now shut up. Like, done with you.
It's like an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
You know, everybody
It
hates them, and
is.
then they give them something, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is awesome." And then a week goes by, and it's like, "Oh yeah, never mind."
Yeah, Valve, I forgive you for all of your transgressions, but thanks for the operation. This game's saved. I mean, literally, they just prop up the Dota 2. I don't. I could just blame them for so long. It doesn't make any sense. We're the most played game on Steam. Like, Cyberpunk beats us, but barely. I bet you they're not beating us after all those bad reviews, but I don't know. It blows my mind that we're not able to get, and like the meme accounts. Like, I love the meme accounts, man. I really do. They're hilarious. They make me smile more than like anything else on Twitter. But like, you only interact with meme accounts. Like, your only interaction on social media is with meme accounts. Like, it blows my mind.
I honestly thought like when they were doing all the interaction like before the operation that they were literally just like trolling and they're like these fucking idiots think an operation's coming out. Like I'm
Yeah.
just gonna at least like I swear I thought that's what was going on, but then they actually did. I was like, okay, wow, that was interesting. But yeah, I was like convinced like these people are literally just saying fuck all you guys.
Yeah.
I do want to make a devil's advocate comment where it's like I don't want to completely take away from the fact that like they are hands off. I do think
Yeah.
there is a positive on them letting the like scene kind of like form itself, just because like that's what Counter Strike's always been, and like the entire like Half-Life engines from the beginning has always been right. Like we were based off of a mod Counter Strike, so like it's an interesting give and take, whereas like Riot has complete control. I've seen some people flaming Riot for like the way they handled like the streams and not being able to like have access and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, so like it's an interesting kind of like yin and yang, and I don't really have much to say besides that. But like, um, I don't know. I'm
Yeah, I don't
definitely
think either style is perfect.
Yeah.
yeah.
With like Valve, it's just that Valve never steps in for the important stuff and the decisions like that, and kind of just leaves the community just like, okay, well, I guess that's it. And then the Riot's the other hand is like, oh yeah, what I say is the only thing that matters, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's just two different sides of the coin, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got like the different parenting styles looking at Riot and and Valve, where it's just Riot is like the authoritative, like, I watch over you, like, nonstop helicopter parent, and then you got CS:GO, who's just the absent parent, just never stepping in, like, oh yeah, you can go to that party, like, just make sure to I don't know what parents do. Make sure you don't do anything too bad. Like, I
But
don't
then
know.
they come in one day drunk and like just punch you in the face when they ban I Buy Power and then
Ban
walk
IBA
away.
power, and then like they feel bad about it, so they come back and they're like, "Here's an operation." Yeah, little present. They get you a little watch or something. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the same present every single time.
Just the same watch. It's the new iPhone. The new iPhone. Fucking hell.
Oh shit! At least the iPhone evolves, and is like it's better.
I mean, the operation evolves. You got
That's
stars,
true.
but you only get 6 a week. You know, you start off with, they get you early with the 10 stars in the first week, and then now you only get 6. It's total scam, I swear.
The stat tracking's pretty cool too. I literally only got to play, like I said, like an hour of the operation so far, but
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that is nice. And like for the first couple days, there was less cheaters and the Fang because but now there's just the same amount. It's all gone to the mess, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing with CS is just like matchmaking system, right? Like if you matchmaking Counter-Strike, it's like for fun. You play for fun. It's a good time. It's not serious. You know, once you get global elite, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not saying like Radiant means a lot in Valorant, but you at least get to play with the top tier players.
Well, isn't
that are
there
playing.
like a top 100 ranking too? Like with Elo?
It's coming out next thing. They've
Yeah,
teased like the
but
leaderboard every once in a
yeah,
while.
I've seen the leaderboards, and I'm like, that's so sick. They've worked on it. They've developed a top 100 based on like how much you win. I assume, like if you win a certain amount, they've probably got some sort of hidden like Elo number too, right? I imagine if
Yeah,
they're doing that.
they said that it's only gonna with the new patch and stuff when that comes out next year. It's just gonna be about wins and losses. So
I mean,
does it?
that's so sick. That's literally, if Valve did that, or if Valve
It's got to
did
happen
that,
one day. It has to.
it's needed to be happen for like 4 years now. Like
Yeah, I mean it's because at the same time Valve doesn't really take Counter Strike seriously. So like
yeah,
if you get a job at Valve, you don't want to be the Counter Strike developer,
no,
right? Like
because then you just get
your
yelled
career is
at.
going nowhere. Like you're gonna get underpaid. You're gonna do literally nothing. Nothing's ever gonna happen. So like no, even the developer that gets hired at Valve that loves Counter Strike is not gonna want to work on Counter Strike.
Yeah, and you just get flamed by the community all the time because you're not doing enough. Poor the few people left that are trying to pump out these operations are getting yelled at by meme accounts every other week. Yeah, oh yeah,
Meme accounts.
the
But I
meme
mean,
accounts, man.
CS is still one of the most played games in the world.
It is,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but I think what CS struggles with is getting the casual player to the competitive gamer. And I think that's what even in Overwatch, like the Valorant Overwatch, like ranking system and stuff like that, like an actual leaderboard to see the top players and being able to play in the same situation or the same, like not like a third party thing, right? Like most people don't want to go play on Face It that are completely new,
Because
and
you have to
yeah.
pay sometimes. Like either
yeah,
you're paying or you have to get this insane anti cheat that requires your phone number,
Yo,
your
oh my god.
social. Yeah, like trying to get a friend to like that's just gotten into CS to play Face It is an hour-long process.
yeah.
That
It's
thing made me rage having to like force me into two-factor, and then my two-factor didn't work. I was like, what the fuck? How the fuck do I get into this account? Anyway, that's a really good point though. Yeah, like having that separation of like casual and competitive literally like live outside the game on a completely different platform. But that goes back to what we talked about, like having the Riot control over, or as opposed to like the Valve leniency, where it's like maybe that's a worse situation for now, but better in other situations. Like I don't know, but that's definitely like the same exact thing, where it's like the complete control over the leniency.
also it's not Riot's like first esport too, so they've made a lot of mistakes with League in that sort of realm of things. Are still making plenty of mistakes. I watch I Will Dominate do his like co-stream a lot. Actually follow League pretty closely, but um I watch I Will Dominate do his co-streams, and like banning him is a huge mistake. Like he is the top like person to watch when it comes to co-streams. So much value, and I still don't know if he knows why he's banned. But like this isn't their first like rodeo when you're talking about esports. I don't know what that rodeo. But it's not like their first go around. They've made their mistakes in League. They've learned from them, and now they've built like one of the most entertaining and best productions And I imagine they'll just be able to take those same fundamentals and put them in Valorant and do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean that's what everybody's hoping for, and that's why it's gotten so big and so much hype right off the bat. Just
Yeah.
because Riot is, they've done the they know how to do it.
Yeah.
They've done it before. Why not? Why can't they do it again? And like the big difference between Counter Strike and Riot or Valve and Riot is Riot will like they'll update the game constantly, right? It's like a different experience. Like I know in
Yeah.
League of Legends, like they always have like a big update in between seasons, and then like little updates in during the season and stuff like
Twice
that.
a week.
And then in Valorant, they're adding people, they're nerfing, changing things, adding new
Yeah.
mechanics and stuff like that. And then Counter Strike took over a year to nerf a Krieg.
Or the R8, which was in the game for like 2 weeks or so.
Mhm.
Yeah. The one-shot pistol. I'll never forget that. Anyone will.
Well, it's been some good laughs. I don't know. What is there anything else you kind of want to talk about, or is this where we close it up?
I think I'm all ranted out.
Yeah, you got some good stuff off your chest there, Xner.
Yeah. I mean, it's every time I get to talk about Yes's future, like in ACS. It's just, yeah, I'm all ranted out today.
How'd it feel for you, Michael? Good coming back and talking some CS?
Thank you guys for having me. It was fun.
Thanks
Yeah,
for
it was
joining
a lot of
us.
fun. Cool. Well.